How you
Hey,
doing?
listen, I'm so tired and I'm gagging for a glass of red.
Cheers.
Oh, I'm so jealous. Oh, as she chugs it down.
Chug. I'm sure Mr. Big will be back with a glass for you
That's,
soon.
that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. How are you? What's up?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Back at home permanently. Can never leave this house. It seems.
Well, at least you can leave. You can
I
still.
know, I know, but like, what for when the weather's like this? You know?
Yeah, I actually think this winter hasn't been that bad. And I know it's in part because I don't commute, so I don't have to
Yeah.
face the elements like day in, day out. But it's not been particularly cold.
It's been
Yeah.
cold. It's been cold.
You think so? Today I was out,
Yeah.
I was
No,
sweating.
today was mild.
Yeah.
That's why. But it's been abnormally cold, I'd say, for this time of year. Yeah.
Is it? Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I thought the weather has been like
Well,
at
that's
night.
very optimistic of you.
It is. It is. Oh well. You got to look forward to something, isn't
I
it?
know, I know. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
at one point we were on track for snow on Christmas Day. I don't know where that's gone, but
Um. That could always happen, isn't it?
I think we need that Christmas miracle this year.
Actually, no, because I'm actually working the day before and the day after, so I need to be able to like get home.
Move. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the problem. Just a light scattering.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah. Do you have any updates on Mim's no spend corner?
Um, so I can feel like I'm losing my resolve.
Right. Do you think that is to do with the fact that you're having to buy things for other people that makes you like want to buy things for yourself?
No, no. I
I
just
was
want to.
giving you like
You're giving me an
I was
out.
giving you something there.
Yeah, that's not the reason.
Oh,
Um, I think that by me clicking on all these Instagram ads, I'm making it worse for myself because I'm getting off.
uh,
Yeah. And as I said, like this time of year is quite difficult because there's sale. Like winter sale is the
mm,
best sale of the year. And so I've been looking at stuff and saving more stuff into my I have a saved
your
folder.
folder.
So although I haven't bought anything else, I've gotten very close to it. Yeah. And also as
What nearly got you to crumble?
well, I was saying about how I've got like these two weddings next year and I never
Yes.
get invited to weddings and stuff. It's true. I never get invited to weddings because
Oh no,
none of
it's
my
not that you
friends
don't get invited. No one's got married yet.
none of my friends have got
Yeah. So that's quite different.
oh, I hear wine coming. So yeah, I am now like I'm on like Brand Alley. That's a
Mm-hmm.
solid place. And I buy my whistle stuff from Brand Alley because they've got good prices. Yeah, go on there.
Ooh.
And so I've been like looking at, oh, I could wear this to their wedding. The wedding is in like 6, 7 months' time. Do I need to be looking now? No.
But
But
it's
I'm
really when you look for it, you can never find it. So you
exactly.
kind of got to keep an eye out.
I do. But
Like the
that's
pressure's on for me.
oh
And
yeah.
I know at some point I'm just gonna have to settle for something I don't want.
Oh yeah, because you're bridesmaid. And I was actually thinking about you today because Net-a-Porter started their sale.
Really? Okay,
I
I'm gonna
might
have
get
a
on there
look.
following you.
Um, but yeah.
That's
So the allure of wedding glamour
yeah, yeah,
has got you.
yeah.
Fine.
And then also the back of that, when you start to like outfit build, because
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to panic about what I'm wearing last minute because then I don't know what I'm wearing and I hate to panic in that regard.
Yeah.
So I was thinking to myself like, oh, I have these shoes, these gold shoes that I like wear when I have a special event. But then I was like, I need a gold bag. So I'm on Vestiaire Collective looking at Bottega pouches in gold, aren't I?
Oh, of course you are. Who do you think you are?
I know, this is the slippery slope I'm going down.
I love it. I love that a lot.
Yeah. How about you? I know you're not doing a no spends.
You know what? I will say, I think I bought maybe 2 Christmas jumpers at the start of December.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did buy a dress that got returned because it wasn't right for the wedding. And then I bought a dress for a birthday for myself, as in my birthday.
What, in April?
Yes. No, but like I've looked at this dress. So for those who don't know, we're both about to enter the big 3-0.
It's actually 3 months exactly to today for me. No, hold on.
Yeah.
2 months. I lie, it's 2 months. My birthday's in February. It doesn't count, but it's 2 months.
Yeah.
And then it's 4 months for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I've seen this dress for like, I'm not even kidding, maybe 6 months, and thought, okay, I want to wear that for my 30th birthday. Like it felt like me. I loved it. And I then it was on sale and it just kept being in stock. And then I was like, I'll get it next month. Kind of a thing of like, it's so far away. I feel ridiculous buying a dress now. Yeah. And then it went out of stock, of course. But it was on another website and I got it in Black Friday. But other than that, I haven't felt the urge. I think I had a bit of a splurge maybe like October time. And that was me getting some essential winter bits. But I must admit, because I still don't leave the house as much as I used to because of work. Like even at most I was going into the office 3 days a week, so I only had to be dressed 3 days a week in like outside clothing. And don't get me wrong, I did get dressed other times, but I don't know, I don't feel maybe as compelled to get as much.
For sure. And you know what I find in like my no spend year thing, and kind of what you were speaking about, buying a dress for something that is far ahead in the future, I worry that if I buy something now, I'll forget that I bought it for the occasion, and then I'll go out and I'll buy something else because I've changed my mind between.
You're not that old. But no, it's true, because I did this like, maybe...
If I buy something to wear in July, I know for certain I'm going to find something else between now and
also the styles change a bit, so it might not be like as on point as you want it to be for that occasion. Because I think I bought 2 dresses now with no occasion in mind, where I was like, I just love them. And it's so hard to find a dress that you love in your style at the moment. Neither of them I can wear for this wedding before anyone chimes in. Genuinely can't. Doesn't fit the brief. So yeah, but like I know that when it comes to it, I've already got like, well, 2 weddings that's not the other one that I'm talking about next year. I won't be wearing either of them, so who knows when they're gonna get worn. But just for those galas I attend, you know.
Of course,
those cocktail parties.
Those cocktail parties in my head.
Yeah. Oh, it's tough. Oh man. What is your fashion story this week?
Well, my fashion story isn't a big one, but of course the Sex and the City spin-off has been a buzz online and people are talking about the episodes. I haven't started watching it yet and I need to jump on it.
I watched it yesterday.
Okay, give me your verdict.
Well, should we do spoilers on here? Should we not? It's been a week, lads. It's been a week.
Okay, you're gonna spoil it for me, but go ahead.
No, I won't say any spoilers to you. Actually, true, I won't say spoilers. You must have seen some spoilers.
Okay, not that much, to be honest. Okay, so I'll ask you some questions. Overall, do you think they're doing a good job of the storyline, not the fashion? We'll do that separate.
So I will say the storyline has highs and lows. So it's certain things are quite like just basic. So like in the first few minutes, they address why Samantha isn't there.
Oh, okay.
And I think they could have made more of it.
She's in like another country, isn't she? She's in London or something like that. Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And then like there are certain things where I think it's quite basic. Like they address their age quite a lot and that they're older. And I wonder if it's like they're subconscious of it. And so they just want to address like, yes, we look different from when you last saw us. But like, we all know that.
Yeah.
We all age, like comes with it. But as soon as any character comes on the screen, there is some reference to like them being older, whether it's them losing their hair color, whether it's their bad hearing, like,
okay.
Which I don't appreciate.
We saw them in the films, so we knew they were getting older as well.
Also, like, we just know. We saw all the pictures of you guys filming. We know what you look like. It's not a shock. So yeah, but there are some more moments where you're like, that's it, like that's the show. And there's definitely a comforting vibe from watching it. And the fashion so far, I applaud it. I applaud the fashion so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Where are you watching it, by the way?
It's on Sky.
Oh, I don't have Sky. What channel?
Might be Atlantic.
Oh.
I'll check. Maybe it's Sky Comedy. Is that a channel? Don't know. I bet you can find it.
Yeah, I need to just do some actual digging.
So there's 2 episodes out so far. So actually, what's your fashion story?
Hold on, that is my fashion story.
Okay,
I haven't watched it yet, but everyone's like on it.
Funnily enough, I sort of have 2 tangents to go off, and actually my fashion story is about it. So the first one is that you know how Carrie famously wears her necklace with her name on.
One nameplate.
Yeah. Sales of that have gone up 50% this year.
Really?
As soon as they announced the reboot, sales of this nameplate necklace have gone up by 50%.
But that's so strange because Carrie was always known for it.
Searches for it, like all of that stuff, like the whole shebang, they've noticed a big uptake, and different retailers have had 50%, different obviously haven't. But yeah, I don't even know if I've noticed her wearing it. I don't think she has been in this latest one. But I guess it's that nostalgia. It's that thing. I think we discussed it before, didn't we? That she's brought like gold jewellery kind of to the masses in some aspects.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then my second one is that actually my bridesmaid sort of get up is inspired by Sex and the City. So
yes, you have.
My friend likes the idea of how Carrie had her bridesmaids in like different block colours, and that's what we're doing. And I'm really umming and ahhing about red. Like I really don't know, because someone was like, someone's got to wear red for Samantha, and I was kind of like, that's my name, maybe I should. But I feel like if you get it wrong, you're just trying to look like a show off. And
I mean,
I don't want to look like that.
Bride's dress like?
Don't know.
Oh, but I don't think she's going to have a Carrie sized dress though.
No, I don't think it will be Vivienne Westwood. But it also, my dress won't be floor length. Like I don't think I want that. I think if I went red, it'd have to be really simple. I think if it's got too much going on. But yeah, so watch this space for me to be Samantha.
I do really like that idea though. I think it's a really nice one. Yeah, as I've mentioned to you before, I think that the bride has to have quite a dramatic dress so that it's just not overshadowed by the bridesmaids.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can always go for like an orangey red.
Yeah,
I think it's
or even
not
like a dark red, like a maroon. Yeah.
Burgundy.
But I think the idea is for us all to look quite vibrant.
Yeah.
But we shall see.
I love it.
do you want to introduce our topic for today?
Okay, why not? So we were thinking that we want to go back to maybe a story time vibe to our episodes a little bit more. We know that some of you have also really appreciated those episodes that we've done when we talk about our personal experience. I mean, we're quite personal on this podcast, to be honest. Everything is centered around our own experience, but in particular, we were going to get into the nitty gritty of working in fashion, but particularly the working hours. So the hours that you work, the hours that you're paid for, the hours that you put in overtime to your job, kind of in our experiences, what we've been paid at different levels and what our perspective is of pay in fashion, which is, spoiler alert, abysmal.
Not cute.
So yeah, and we thought it's going back to our old school episodes a bit. So yeah, do you want to start to talk about? Okay, so basically, let's talk about the hours that we were doing during our first roles in fashion, I think.
So my first role as an intern, the hours weren't always terrible. I guess I definitely felt when I first started that I had to, I asked if I could leave because it kind of felt that way. It felt like one of those environments of like, you're lucky to be here. And also like, I guess that's also the just how you get told sort of about fashion interning. So I very much felt like I had to ask every day, is it okay if I go now?
Yeah. I think also the way interning is presented to us, like just out in the like general environment, is like if you get an internship, then you're really lucky, and it's your key to success in fashion, and it's almost sold to us like if you're not doing crazy long hours, then you're not doing it right.
Yeah, exactly. So I think my contracted, if you can call it that, because we all know I was not being paid. I think it was 9 till 6. I would say maybe like to begin with, I would leave pretty much around that time. And every now and then there'd be something where I'd have to stay for an hour. And then when it was like crunch time, I would have to be staying late. But I was fortunate that because I lived in zone 6, I had to get a last train at like 20 to 11. So like I had to leave at like 11:15. And like that definitely happened multiple times. And then it got to a point where that was happening, but they still needed me. And so then they started offering me a taxi home so that I couldn't use that excuse.
So going back, when you describe like crunch time, because I can assume what you mean by that, but what is like considered crunch time, a time in the season where everyone's got to be doing these hours until like 11:30 or later, and how was that defined?
So I guess I can kind of think of maybe like 2 moments sort of per season. So one will maybe be like the deadline for sending like the factory packs or the garment packs for factories, like their cutoff or when they have to receive that, so that we receive the goods in time for Fashion Week or for all of that, or for the showcase, the lookbook, photo shoot, all of that. And then it would also then be, once those have arrived, and preparing for, we didn't show as in have a fashion show, but there was a lookbook. So then all the garments had to be ready for that photo shoot and all of that. So those were the 2 main crunch times, because otherwise, and we were always on the brink anyway of like the deadline and pushing that as far as it could go. But I will also say, I feel like there's often this thought, especially, I guess it's in a few industries, but I definitely felt it in fashion at times, where like some people, some bosses thought that like you shouldn't go home until they do.
Oh yeah, okay.
And it maybe the boss never said it, but like a few petrified assistants would sort of feel that way, and not have like the courage or sort of like the confidence to be like, our job here is done.
Yeah, and because the bosses are getting paid, and at this time you guys aren't.
I'm literally like, so the contribution they gave me was my train fare, but I was 100% working for free because I didn't get any of that money.
Yeah.
How about you? How are your like at first hours?
So my first jobs in fashion, which pretty much was like a job that everyone has, like a shop floor, retail job, nothing fancy. And that was bad because, as many people know, it's like minimum wage. And there's one particular company that I used to work for. This was like literally at the beginning. And till this day, I do not shop there because I'm like sticking it to them.
I literally know exactly what you're talking about.
And what they did in terms
You're
of...
not missing much though, let's just add that.
No, I'm not. I'm really not. What they did, and I'm sure they still do, and I'm sure a lot of companies do this as well. This was before like zero contract hours, but they would rota you for just below full-time hours. So they didn't have to pay you for things like holiday or like, you know, higher levels of like, you know, national insurance and benefits and stuff that the employer would have to either pay you or pay government or whatever as a full-time worker. So everyone was on these like 30-hour-a-week contract type things. This was like, you know, in the days when you're like desperate for money. And so that was something, and also other things that retail companies do and that I experienced when I was at this particular place. It was like, you don't get paid for your lunch, or you get paid for like half of your lunch. You know, it's like 30 minutes you get paid for, and like the other 30 minutes of the hour you don't.
But would you have to be forced to take the full hour?
I think so. I think
there's a legal requirement to offer an hour.
I'm not quite sure how it works or how it worked at the time, but I'm pretty sure for a lot of people, if you get paid by the hour and you know, and you can see how many hours your rota is for a week, you can pretty much calculate if you're getting paid for the full hour or not. Do you know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure that in a lot of places you don't. You work like 4 hours, you have an hour break, and then you work 4 hours. So it feels like 9 because it is, because you're there for 9 hours, but you're getting paid for 8 essentially. And so that was like, that's really, really common. And it just makes that kind of like entry level fashion job, that even if you're not pursuing a career in fashion, you're just working the job. That's what makes it, when you calculate it, just completely not worth it. First off, it's like minimum wage, quite frankly. And then secondly, you're not getting paid for, you're not getting those like, you know, you're commuting and you factor all of that in, and you factor in, you know, you're not getting paid for like lunch and whatnot. It's just bullshit. And I will say that even when I moved on to like luxury brands, they can pay you a bit more, but you're still working to these like god-awful rotas, doing like 9 hours a day plus the commute, which is, you know, adds to itself. But the pay isn't like, my pay wasn't particularly good. The only difference from my experience when I was working in luxury, like on the shop floor retail, is a little thing called bonus. And I think that is one of the things that separates normal high street retail to that like luxury level. but it's always dependent on like different companies offer different rates for sales bonuses. So essentially, like if you sell more, then you'll earn a percentage.
So like commission almost.
It's a commission, yeah, exactly. Your commission. And every company that you work for has a different like commission rate, let's say. And also depending on the brand and the popularity of that brand, you might not be able to shift that much stuff in a month because it's just really expensive.
Yeah.
The brand is not particularly as famous or as popular as, like, say, a Gucci. You know, it's like not one of those like bait brands. So yeah, I think that, like, in my experience, there are at that kind of like lower level, there fashion has a way of using perks, using benefits as a way to cover up the fact that the pay and the hourly rate isn't good. We'll touch on like sample sales and stuff like that. Yeah. But I remember when I worked at a online like luxury retailer in the UK, so there's not many of them, but you can guess. And I can't remember how much I was getting paid an hour, but I worked in their customer service department, so we dealt with like the orders and things like that. And we used to get a bonus if we like met our targets and whatnot. We used to get a bonus of like £300 a month. Now at the time, great. Yeah, at the time we're like, that's great. But it was either you get paid it, and obviously you pay tax on it.
Yeah, so it's not £300.
Or they said that you could have it on your, they would put it on your like account, your online account. Like, you know, you're signed up with these online retailers. Everyone has their own account. They would put the money in your account.
Like and you credit.
Store credit. And you could spend it
back to them.
So yeah, that was great.
Jesus.
I know. Yeah.
Crazy.
So a couple of occasions, like you've mentioned about working late and crunch time and having to take a taxi home, that happened to us. So during the like when you work more in the sales as opposed to design, like the crunch time, quote unquote, is around Christmas, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so
and Black Friday wasn't as big of a thing then.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, exactly.
So would it be like Christmas and just sale time generally?
Yeah, it was just Christmas sale essentially. And we were offered the chance to do like the late night rotas. So it'd be like in the middle of the night. To be like on the phones and dealing with orders and stuff in the middle of the night because they had international clientele. So people would call throughout the night essentially because they weren't based in England. And in that occasion, they were like, yeah, you'll get a higher rate of pay.
Like
and
overtime.
And we will like order you a taxi to take you all the way back home so you didn't have to commute on public transport. Which was good. But as I say, it's all about...
Would they provide you with food?
They did, actually. I think we had pizza. You know what? And I will admit that those shifts that we did in the middle of the night where we got a taxi back home and we got fed...
I bet it wasn't as busy.
No, it wasn't.
It was quite dossy.
It was almost better than working my normal shift. No, I'm not even going to say almost. It was definitely better than working my normal shift, where I had to like go to and fro on the tube and like spend my money on transport and all of this, you know, other mundane stuff which adds to your day. Yeah, it was actually better, I'm not going to lie. But even in then, like one big thing I have with working hours in fashion is that they will, whether it's normal, regular high street retail or luxury, they will always try and substitute a lack of pay with other benefits. Like, look how glamorous we are. Look how fancy we are. Here's some store credit. Here's some perks. Here's a sample sale. What's your experience in that?
Yeah, so actually you just reminded me that when I was interning, and if I had to work a weekend, we were then allowed to pick something from like the cupboards.
Oh God.
But like it had to be like the dregs of the dregs. And so like, yeah, me and like the assistant got to like pick stuff. So I think that happened like maybe 2 or 3 times. But like I don't even know if I've ever worn what I picked or like, you know, all of that stuff. But still, like at the time, it was like, oh, yeah, it feels glamorous. But yeah, and to be honest, at this company, we never really had to work weekends much. Okay. But then my second interning job, that happened a lot. Mm-hmm. So in the run up to the show, maybe like a month before the show, we would just work 7 days a week. Mm-hmm. And there they didn't even cover my train fare and gave literally 0 incentive. And it just felt awful, but like they didn't have enough money to do it. That's why they literally had maybe like, I think they had 4 full-time employees, maybe 5. And 3 of them were the founders. And then the rest were interns. At points there were maybe like nearly 10 interns.
Wow.
So like they didn't have the means, I guess, to add those incentives. And actually, funnily enough, at the first place that I worked, where I then went back and worked again as an intern and then as an employee, they had like incentives for staff. But the ironic thing was, so like the incentive would be every sort of lookbook, you would be allowed to maybe order a certain amount, like on the company.
Oh.
So like you'd be given an allowance. But of course, they only gave that to the people they were paying probably decent money to, which actually it should be the other way around. Mm-hmm. And you should just give a little bit, not enough to buy necessarily a full bag or whatever it was, but like in hindsight that would have gone a really long way for me, rather than like rewarding the people that you already reward in so many other ways. And I get it, that's also a way of them maybe not be able to give them even more of a salary and XYZ, but yeah, there were very few incentives. But what they did do at my company was when an intern left, they had to be there a significant time, but you got given a bag, which was very nice. And I think like depending on how long you were there, and I was their longest term employee intern, like I got to basically choose what bag I got and stuff like that. And they made a real fuss and had a party.
Teacher's pet.
Well, too bloody right. They had like 9 months free labour from me.
Yeah.
And like some people would have worked like a month and still got like a free bag.
Yeah.
And then I think they sort of stopped that, and it had to be like past a certain point, and they sort of stopped being so generous as they sort of were going through more interns. But
yeah, that's the thing. I think all too often working those long hours, or in your case working for a significant amount of time unpaid, is always touted as like, oh, you know, it means that you'll get to that place in your career that you want to reach, and it's that hustle, it's that showing that you can survive on minimum wage or barely anything at all, is going to get you that experience that you need. But we've talked about work experience in the past before, and like fashion just takes the piss in the sense that it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that you're going to get to that level just by putting in those hours. There isn't a direct correlation.
No, and you know what? So much of the time, yes, I learned a lot, but like, I'm going to channel my inner Molly May a little bit. I'm going to attribute that to me. Yeah. Like, I learned a lot because I listened, and it was like an open plan office, And they weren't teaching me what was happening in like the merchandising department. I went and asked. Like, they weren't teaching me certain things. A lot of the time I was there to go pick up fabric from a store, go pick some zips. Like, I was like a human courier service, or like I was there to do the menial tasks.
Yeah.
Like, often to go get coffee. Like, I think we've talked before about ridiculous things I've done. I used to go get like people's medications, like pick up lunch, like stupid stuff that you're not teaching me anything by doing that. You're not teaching me respect for someone or anything. You're like, I know how to wrap an order for TNT and fill out the slip, but like once you've done that a few times, you know, you're not teaching me much. But I think I learned, because of my personality and my interest in like the business of fashion.
Yeah.
Whereas others may have just done what they had to do and really not picked up the skills that could have helped them when they actually landed a job. I think it's different now, but I still think the matter of hours is a real problem. And actually, is that the best? I definitely went through phases. So sort of fast forward, that's also where I got my first like paid job in fashion. And so
let's talk about your more recent roles and what level you were at and how much you were kind of like getting paid or like reimbursed and things like that. Because I think from an outsider's perspective, there are particular roles like buyer and things like that.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to assume, oh, you're a buyer at this big brand, you must be getting paid, or you're a designer at this, and it doesn't work like that.
Yeah. So I think my first salary, I feel like, what did they try and offer me? They offered me, I don't know what minimum wage was at the time, but I feel like they tried to offer me like 17 grand.
Okay.
My first job as like a design assistant.
Yeah.
And I think I haggled it to be like 20.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I've worked here for years. Like, well, it felt like I'd worked there and like they wanted me. And actually, I think I was a paid intern at this point because they wanted me to work there. But I was going to be going away. I was going to be going traveling. And so it sort of felt weird for them to make me something before that. So I was like their paid intern. So that's, I think then that must have been around that. And then when I came back, it can't have been loads more. And then I don't know if I even got a promotion there. I don't think I did. No, I think I was just on like maybe around 20 for like a few years. I think I asked for a promotion once and they sort of said they'd think about it. And at one point there, I was doing ridiculous hours. Because of my boss, I think I've mentioned it before, she used to want to stay late because she didn't turn up till like 11. So then she'd stay till like 8-9 o'clock. And so I think we had like a rule of if you'd stayed past certain times, we'd get dinner there, then like, and I'd just stay there late every day, kind of almost because of this like ethos she had, and she was slow. So then we had to stay there till she'd finished her work, kind of a thing. Yeah. And I was working crazy hours for really not much money. And like, yeah, it was bad, but at least we sort of got fed and stuff like that. Whereas my more recent role that was treacherous. I was then I must have been a design assistant, and then I changed job and I was a junior designer. I think I was on like 24. So this is with like 5 years experience.
Yeah.
And I was on like 24 grand. And like bearing in mind, I'm commuting from quite far, so £300 a month went to trains. But the problem was I used to work late quite a lot, but you had to work till 11 o'clock to be able to get food. So like they didn't buy you food at 11, but they got you food at like 7. And I think you were meant to stay, maybe it was till 10, but you were meant to stay past a certain point to like earn getting your dinner
to earn your food.
Because obviously all this overtime, by the way, I never got paid overtime, never got it back in lieu. And so the problem was, because they then wouldn't get dinner, and I didn't want to be staying till late if I could help it. So I'd be trying to leave maybe about 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock and then get food at like Waterloo.
Yeah.
And it started costing me like a small fortune.
That's expensive.
Then you don't have the time or the energy to make yourself lunch for the next day. Like, it's all those small things that you like, that they don't even realize, like that you don't get afforded that. And like at one point, like I would eat all my 3 meals at work. I would just started packing them all because I didn't want to keep buying stuff. It's obviously not like the healthiest. So I used to pack my breakfast, lunch and dinner with me for the day.
Yeah, that's reminded me when I was working on the shop floor still, and I was commuting into central London, because that's where I was working. And our early shift started where you needed to be in at about, I think it was like 7:30. Or something like that. So you had to be there before the department store opened, and then you would finish at 4. Finishing early was nice, but obviously, like me commuting from Berkshire into central London, meant that I had to wake up really early. All I could do was like make a coffee in my flask sort of thing and like drink it on the train, and then you're like buying some semblance of breakfast in the department store, in the cafeteria or something each day, but you're just buying something that's cheap and that's easy and that you can like smuggle to the shop floor, can't you? So you're not really eating anything substantial. And then you've barely eaten anything. You're on your feet for like the next 4 hours, running up here and there throughout the store or to like your patch or back to the stock room. And then you go for lunch in the cafeteria. And again, it's not like you have a lot of money. So you're just buying like basic, like give me an extra large portion of chips and like mayo, and you're just like scoffing it during your lunch. And then I remember you go back to shop floor for the rest of your shift. And then I always used to buy a McDonald's McFlurry on the way home, because it was like my treat, you know what I mean? It was like £1.
You survived the day.
And I'm gonna eat that ice cream, and it got ridiculous. I was eating these things a lot, I have to admit. But when you factor in that by the time I got home,
so you probably spent at least £10 a day on food.
Well, that's the thing, I don't think I spent a lot of money on food.
£10 isn't loads, but
but it adds up. I think I was spending less than that, but it was more the fact that I wasn't eating a lot, because factor in the time between my meals, and I wasn't eating that great. So I would eat my dinner once I got home, and say I'm at home at 6 o'clock, and I've had like a really small breakfast at like 7 o'clock that morning. I've had a average size, I've had chips for lunch, a McFlurry, and that's all I've pretty much eaten until like 6-7 o'clock at night. I remember just like because as you said, your eating pattern and you're like overall, you're on your feet all the time, you're not eating pretty well, your diet is atrocious, and like, you're either like losing weight. Fashion. That's the glamour. At least you're skinny. But no, like I remember,
have a Diet Coke and just get on with it.
But no, I remember thinking that like during that period of time, like having a really poor rota, and you're right, that cycle that you're on adds to the workload and then like pressure on you physically, because bearing in mind, sometimes I used to do late shifts and get home at 11:30, and then the next day I'd be on the early shift. So I'm like waking up at 6, leaving at 6:30 to get there for, and then doing that again. And it's
I think that's the big thing to talk about with working hours when you work late. And even that, like, no one should have let you have that shift work, right? Like, realistically. And like, I know that kind of they're not responsible for it all, but well-being has to be a factor. And I think these days it obviously becoming more and more of a factor in people's lives and jobs. But yeah, there would be times, especially like, God, there'd be times at my first job where I'd get home at like 2 a.m, but be expected back in the office for the regular time. I lived far away, as I said, like I worked central. I lived far away. I was at least like an hour and a half commute. So I was still then waking up at the normal time, then trudging back in, not knowing how long my day was going to be. Equally could have been another late night.
Yeah.
And, you know, like it's not like conducive to anything.
No.
And then like more recently, I would be doing just 12-hour days at least, just like solidly for about a month, maybe. Just literally wouldn't see anybody, wouldn't do anything. If I didn't have to work at the weekend, again, which was not paid or granted anything in lieu or no treats. Like I just kind of was a shell of a human because you just have to like find that energy to go. It's not good. It's not good.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, like it's kind of crazy. But you know what? I know there's other industries where like people work late, and I think with working from home now, it's hard to create those boundaries, but also somewhat easier. You can shut your laptop, you know, you can close your computer.
Yeah. You can't hide from your manager when you're in the office.
And also if like, I once had this thing where I was going to a concert and I literally like got up to leave and she was like, but we have to do this. And I was kind of like, well, you can do that. Like in my head thinking like, it's 7 o'clock. I'm going. Yeah. You're still here. You can do that. You get paid a lot more than me, at least double, maybe even triple my salary.
Yeah.
You can do that.
Yeah.
And also like as a one-off, I've got somewhere to be. Surely you can do that. And also I didn't know that at the time either. So like I wasn't able to manage my time accordingly. And yeah, like just it's really hard. Like I'm not a naturally bolshy person to then go like, no, sorry, I've got plans, I've got to go.
Yeah.
So then you're like,
you develop develop that attitude as time goes on with age and whatnot.
And with experience and with knowledge, like, I'm way more like that now. I very much will send an email like, I'll do that in the morning. Like without like all of that stuff. But I also currently work somewhere where the urgency is not like it has been in other places. I think the key is to not have a manager who buys into the bullshit of the industry.
100%. I think that's a big deal. Yeah, I had a manager like that who, you know, we all like in our little team, we appreciated like, oh, her thing was just like, it's just handbags, you know, fuck it. It's not the end of the world sort of thing. But and even if you're not getting paid that much, at least you can be like, I don't need to put in this ridiculous amount of, for lack of a better word, like ridiculous amount of energy into something that's not even gonna.
It's not saving the world, and not everything has to save the world. But when all you're doing is making a wealthy lady happy, you can go to that dinner, or you can get that early night's sleep, or get home at a normal time for no goddamn reason.
Yeah. So I have some stats, some average stats. Now, granted, this is taken off a website that's like aimed at those coming out of uni or thinking about what career they want to go into.
Don't do it.
And I just came across.
I'm just kidding. I just do whatever fulfills you.
Yeah, but you know, be smart. So it says starting salaries in the fashion industry are often low. Design assistants may start at around 16 to 18k. Yeah. A junior designer can expect to earn approximately 25k a year. And I know that from experience, like assistant buyers as well.
Yeah. I'm going to say I'm pretty sure that buyers and designers is kind of part and parcel. Like, I know that a buyer sounds super glamorous.
Yeah, but it's not.
It's kind of no different from my experience.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement. Then typical salaries at senior designer and creative director level range from 42 to in excess of 85k. And
where do these jumps happen? You know, like, this has always been my biggest problem with fashion. How do you just suddenly like double someone's salary like that?
Yeah,
or triple it? Like, that is madness, that you just suddenly go from like really not earning that great to something like, oh, we now think you're worthy, and so we're going to give you like a slightly competitive salary.
And what I just find fascinating is that, you know, when you're in finance, people who work in finance, typically they get paid quite well for what they're doing. And it's the idea of you are managing people's wealth and other people's money. I'm not talking about like high street bank. I'm talking about like finance.
Yeah.
And so I might be wrong. People can correct me, but at least like you can enjoy a reasonably comfortable lifestyle when you're in that circle dealing with those sorts of clientele. In fashion, in my experience, and both of us, for the majority of our career, we worked in luxury fashion. Those who serve you in the shops, those who design for you, those who are in the head offices, those who come up with these ideas and who make the brand a luxurious brand cannot afford the lifestyle in any way, shape,
or the products that they're creating, or like
exactly can't afford the products that they sell. And like, it doesn't matter if you are a buyer in a top brand, you're not making that kind of like that much money. That's what I don't understand, like the jumps between each level, granted, but also the jump between like the disparity between those who are doing and those who buy. It's wild.
It's so true. And that like there's a real, I remember like realizing that like, so I work on this stuff day in, day out, I will never be able to afford it. Is like beyond me, because like, even though the designers maybe were doing well, they still weren't affording that stuff, or like, you know, because you still got like, you know, bills to pay, and like life gets more expensive, or you've then maybe got kids or whatever it might be. That you can never really afford it until maybe you become like some premium person. But the amount of people who become that are few and far between.
Exactly.
And also, like, if it hasn't beaten your soul to death by that point, then like you deserve it. Like, hats off to you. But even like when it comes down to like the intrinsic problem in fashion and working hours and pay, they're so linked, because you're not paid that well. So like you saying that you had, when you were maybe on like the shop floor and it's contracted, if someone offered you overtime, you take it because you want more money. And it's like this vicious cycle of like, but if you were earning enough money in the first place, then you wouldn't be working yourself to the bone or ragged to get more money. And that's the problem that they have in a lot of garment factories and all of that stuff. And it's throughout the whole industry. It's just this like problem. And I think especially in luxury fashion, like you said, like it's different for high street, because there's like the margins aren't big, but the quantities are high, like, and you're dealing with products like, if you're a buyer for Topshop, I hope to the high heavens you can afford a top from Topshop. You know, like you can. And if you're a buyer for Gucci, unless you've got like a sugar daddy, you're not. And maybe you buy one thing a year from there, 2 things a year, but like you can't willy-nilly buy stuff from there. But you're surrounded by it, and it creates this sort of like, not even imposter syndrome, but this kind of
fantasy.
But it creates like an us and them. or like it creates a problem of like a disparity. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get what you're talking about. It also reminds me of something that I experienced whilst working. It wasn't a high street brand as such, but it was like a premium, premium high street. And I'm sure this happens with other brands that are probably more expensive as well. But uniform. And how they would make you like, oh yeah, you get a uniform allowance, which is, other words, you need to pay for your uniform because we want you to be in this season's best stuff or this season's new stuff. Yeah, it's a heavy discount. It's like 75% off. But then when you factor in, like, you're not getting paid that much, even paying 25% of, like in my experience, when I was working for a particular brand, like a top was easily £150, easily, full price. And then, okay, so it might be 75% off, but then I've got to buy trousers and a pair of shoes. Maybe like
you still will be paying more for that outfit than maybe you would have chosen to.
Exactly. You got to get a couple,
and you can't just have one outfit.
Exactly. So you're like,
no one does that much washing.
I need to buy the cheapest stuff here because I need to be in uniform. Most of the time you're just like, I didn't really buy as much as they would have wanted me to, because I was like, babe, you want me to starve? That's what you want me to do. You want me to starve so that I can be in head to toe, whatever you're flogging this season. That is not factored in.
No.
Like, you can't afford to be buying into the brand itself and you're not getting compensated. At the very least, uniform should be free across the board completely. 0%,
Yeah.
But you were talking about garment workers, and we've spoken a lot about garment workers in other episodes, but I wanted to talk about some statistics I found that relates to garment workers in the UK. These are old figures, but they are in our working lives, our working lifetime, so it's still really relevant, and it still demonstrates, I think, what goes on in fashion in the UK as well. So University of Leicester, they did a study of about 11,000 workers in the UK, and they were all like factory garment workers, and this was in the East Midlands. And they found that these workers, amongst 11,000 of them, about 75 to 90% of them were getting paid less than £3 an hour. So when you take the hours they were working and how much they were getting paid for that day,
and they didn't get paid for their overtime,
it must have been like as you were saying, you're contracted for 8-9 hours, but you're working 11, and then you divide your day's pay by the actual number of hours you're doing, and it's going to come out to something like that. So they were being paid less than minimum wage, even for, this was in 2010.
So this is fashion like to a T, right? So you've said that your first sort of retail job, they tactically made sure that you weren't a certain like level of hours to not give you certain rewards. Then I guess the other side of it is, we're going to make you a salaried employee because we know we're going to be asking you to do a lot more hours, and so we don't want to be paying an hourly rate. Yeah,
100%.
Oh my god.
So
like, I feel like the whole industry needs to be investigated.
No,
this could become a crime podcast.
It's rampant, and it's made in a way that it's not illegal. You know what I mean? It's like you signed up for it.
But also so many people know it. And I'm just like, this is the problem with the industry, right? Is that everyone, and I guess it's probably like the same maybe like film and TV or whatever, and maybe the music industry, but just everyone's like, yeah, that's just kind of how it is. And you're like, no.
Yeah. So a secondary part to that is Arcadia, around the time of this reporting, Arcadia were linked to to UK sweatshops, because that's essentially what these were. And then again in 2017, Dispatches, so the investigative series for Channel 4, they revealed that again, people were being paid in 2017, guys, so this is not long ago, between £3 and £3.50 an hour as well. We knew that this was happening with
Jesus, that's 10 years on.
Yeah. Like Boohoo and Arcadia and all these like other, let me bring up the actual list.
A shame.
So it was River Island, New Look, Boohoo, Misguided, and they used factories that were paying their workers between £3 and £3.50 an hour in the UK, guys. And yeah, Jesus. That is just indicative of the industry.
Makes you feel sick, like really does. Just the idea of like, and let's be honest, are they British workers? Probably not. And
a lot of them were like Bangladeshi, like Southeast Asian. I think that was in the Midlands, there's large Asian communities as well. But,
But like, it's like the kind of thing of like, okay, just because they might be from somewhere else doesn't mean that like...
We still have work laws here. You still have to.
They've come to the UK for our work laws. They might
Yeah.
And whichever generation family they are, they're probably not even like first generation. Some of them, like it's just unacceptable. Like the laws in this country are away, and like, it burns my insides.
Yeah. So, that was our experience of working in fashion and the number of hours and just the pay in general. But I want to know kind of everyone else's experience.
Like, did you just work your hours?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a thing? And if so, what department were you in, so we all know what's the best department? But if you didn't just work your hours, like on average, how much overtime do you think you did?
Yeah, I want to know also, or have a discussion to some extent about, do you think this will ever improve? And what's the best avenues in fashion to go down when it comes to, I mean, really and truly, off the top of my head, I think the best thing is to be an influencer. I mean, people can slate influencers all they want and say
they have so much money,
but there's a lot of them who are making a lot more than what we've described to have been paid in the past.
Yeah,
for the amount of work we were doing. Yeah. What's our poll for this week?
Well, I guess about the working hours, and then
You know what? Pay increases, annual pay increases each year.
Not a thing in my world.
Because I don't think those were. I used to work for one particular really corporate fashion company. They were American. And so we did have annual pay increases, but I don't think that's particularly common.
No. Not that I'm aware of.
Can't relate. So yeah. I'd want to know about people getting their annual pay increases and what that looked like. And as they had promotions as well, did your salaries go up significantly in line with what you thought that job title was worth or valued as? Yeah.
This industry, man.
It's the Wild West.
It is.
Anyway.
What's that Olivia Rodrigo? It's ruthless out here. Something else, no.
It's for the kids.
That was really anticlimactic.
Anyway, have you got anything else you want to add?
No, I'm done now.
Refrain from embarrassing yourself. Okay, well, thanks, guys, for listening to another episode of Style Over Substance. We'd like to hear your opinions and your own experiences of working in the industry. And also, are you still in the industry? Are you still working?
Are you surviving?
Skiving?
No, are you surviving in this industry?
Oh, yeah, if you're still in it, are you surviving? Especially after the 2 years that we've had.
Yeah.
Lots of stores have been closed. What has salaries look like now as well? Well, thanks for listening, guys. We're going to have a poll on all our social media.
And if you ever have any stories, please share them, and we would happily read them aloud.
Definitely. Well, thanks, and we'll see you next week, guys. Bye.
Hello.